When shadows cast light the void that wasn't empty, Admiral Zephyr, Kane stared at the tactical display with growing disbelief. The void sector had been empty yesterday. The deep space surveillance network confirmed it. Nothing existed in that region of space except cosmic dust and dying starlight. Yet now, something massive floated where emptiness should reign. "Run the scan again," Kane ordered, her voice tight with controlled tension. The bridge crew of the hegemony flagship Dominion worked frantically at their stations. These were veteran officers who had served through 3 galactic campaigns, but confusion painted their faces. Lieutenant Commander Reeves looked up from his console, sweat beading on his blue-scaled forehead. "Admiral, the readings are consistent. Structure is approximately 50 kilometers in length, 20 in width. Architecture is ... unknown." Kane's forearms crossed as she processed this information. The hegemony had catalogued every known species and their construction techniques across the Orion spiral. Their databases contained architectural patterns. From 1,000 civilizations, nothing matched what floated before them. "Energy signatures?" she asked. "Minimal, but present. The structure appears to be in standby mode. No active weapons systems detected, but ... double quotes." Reeves hesitated. "Speak freely, Commander. The power readings suggest technology far beyond anything in our databases. If this were active, it could power a small planet." Kane studied the image floating in the holographic display. The structure resembled a massive flower made of metal and crystal, its petals folded inward as if sleeping. Beautiful, yet somehow ominous in its silent presence. The boarding teams, Kane decided. Full scientific complement, heavy security escort. If someone built this overnight, they might still be aboard. The shuttle bay buzzed with activity as teams assembled. Commander Thrix, the hegemony's best intelligence officer, led the advanced team. His species excelled at detecting deception and hidden technologies. If secrets lurked within that structure, he would find them. The approach took 2 hours, during which additional scans revealed more mysteries. The structure's hull incorporated materials that shouldn't exist. Crystalline matrices woven through. Metallic compounds created patterns that bent sensor readings. It was as if the builders had designed their creation to confuse outside observation. "Docking successful," reported the shuttle pilot. "Atmosphere is present and breathable for most species. Temperature nominal." Thrix led his team through the airlock. The interior spaces defied expectation. Corridors stretched in graceful curves, lit by panels that seemed to grow from the walls themselves. Everything felt organic, yet technological, as if the builders had learned to make metal and crystal live and breathe. "No crew detected," reported the security chief, "but the structure is definitely inhabited. Life support systems are running, food synthesizers show recent use, and sleeping quarters appear occupied." They found the central chamber after 20 minutes of careful exploration. It resembled a cathedral made of light and shadow, with workstations arranged in circular patterns. Holographic displays showed star charts, construction, schematics, and streams of data in languages the translation systems couldn't identify. "The Discovery, Admiral," Thrix's voice crackled through the communications link. "You need to see this." The main display showed a series of technical drawings that made Kane's breath catch. They depicted not one structure, but hundreds. Space stations, orbital platforms, and devices whose purposes remained unclear. All shared the same elegant, organic aesthetic. "These are construction plans," Thrix continued. "But the scale. Admiral, if these drawings are accurate, someone has been building across the entire galaxy for decades. Kane studied the schematics with growing amazement. The level of engineering sophistication exceeded anything the hegemony possessed. Whoever designed these structures understood physics, materials, science, and spatial engineering at levels that bordered on miraculous. "Any indication of who built this?" she asked. "Working on that now. The computer systems are ... unusual. They don't follow standard programming architectures. It's as if the builders thought differently about how information should be organized and accessed." A junior technician called out from across the chamber. "Commander Thrix, I've found something. Text files in what appears to be a known language." Thrix rushed to the workstation. The display showed lines of text in a script the translation systems recognized instantly. His face went pale as he read. "Admiral," he whispered into his communicator. "The language is human standard." The impossible truth silence filled the command channel. Human standard was the written language of Earth, a small blue world in a remote spiral arm. Humans were barely spacefaring, having achieved faster than light travel only 50 years ago. Their longest expeditions reached perhaps a dozen nearby star systems. They possessed no technology more advanced than basic fusion drives and primitive artificial intelligence. "That's impossible," Kane said. "Humans lack the capability to build anything like this." "The files suggest otherwise," Thrix replied. "I'm seeing references to Project Silent Garden, Deep Construction Initiative, and something called the Patient Work. Admiral, there are detailed logs here dating back 40 years. Kane felt the deck shifting beneath her feet, though the Dominion remained perfectly stable. Everything the hegemony believed about galactic civilization was crumbling. "What do the logs say?" Thrix's voice carried disbelief. "They detail a coordinated construction effort across multiple star systems, hidden facilities, secret shipyards, advanced research stations, all built by humans, all operating in complete secrecy." The Admiral closed her eyes, trying to process this information. The hegemony maintained observation posts near every known spacefaring species. Their intelligence networks monitored technological development across the galaxy. How had humanity advanced so far without detection? "Continue investigating. I want every file copied, every system analyzed, and THRIX ... find out where the builders went." The message 3 hours into the investigation, the mystery deepened. The structure contained workshops filled with tools designed for hands with 5 fingers, living quarters sized for human proportions, food synthesizers programmed with Earth cuisine preferences. Every detail confirmed human origin, yet the technology remained impossibly advanced. "Admiral," the communications officer called out. "We're receiving a transmission." "From where?" "The structure itself. It just ... activated." The main screen flickered to life, showing a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and kind eyes. She wore simple work clothes, as if she had been interrupted during routine maintenance. "Greetings," she said, her voice carrying warmth despite the formal words. "I am Captain Alina Vasquez of the Earth Engineering Corps. If you are receiving this message, then you have discovered one of our construction sites." Kane felt her world tilt again. Earth Engineering Corps was not an organization in any hegemony database. The woman continued. "Please do not be alarmed. We mean no harm to any species or government. We have been working quietly in the spaces between stars, building things that will benefit all sentient life when the time comes." "Working quietly," Kane repeated to herself. For how long had humans been moving through hegemony space undetected? Your arrival indicates that our work is approaching the revelation phase. We have remained hidden not from fear, but from necessity. Some projects require patience, silence, and the freedom to work without interference. The message paused, and Captain Vasquez smiled. We know you have questions. In 7 standard days, representatives will arrive at coordinates that should now be appearing on your navigation systems. We invite you to witness what humanity has built in the shadows. The transmission ended, leaving Kane staring at star coordinates that pointed to a system supposedly empty of intelligent life. The fleet response within hours. Hegemony High Command mobilized a task force, 12 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts, prepared to investigate the coordinates. The implications of secret human construction activities demanded immediate attention. As the Dominion prepared to depart, additional reports flooded in. Observation posts across the galaxy reported similar structures appearing in previously empty regions. Space stations materialized near trade routes. Orbital platforms became visible around barren worlds. It was as if humanity had pulled back. A vast curtain revealing construction projects that spanned decades. How many? Kane asked her intelligence staff. Current count stands at 137 confirmed structures, Commander Thrix reported. But the number keeps climbing. As our survey ships reach the coordinates, Kane studied the tactical display showing structure locations. They formed a pattern across the galaxy, positioned to monitor major hyperspace routes, protect vulnerable star systems, and provide support infrastructure for space travel. It was a network designed to help, not conquer. Admiral, her aide announced. The task force is ready to depart. Kane nodded, her mind racing with questions. How had humanity achieved such technological advancement? Why had they worked in secret for so long? And most importantly, what did they plan to do now that their hidden efforts were revealed? As the Dominion engaged its hyperdrive, carrying the task force toward answers, Kane couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The galaxy had discovered that humanity was far more than anyone imagined. The coordinates led to a system that officially contained nothing but gas giants and asteroid fields. But as the hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace, they found themselves facing the impossible once again. A massive space complex floated in the system's outer region, its architecture matching the hidden structures, but on a scale that defied comprehension. It wasn't just a space station. It was a city among the stars, home to technologies and possibilities that would reshape everything the galaxy thought it knew about the small blue world called Earth. Captain Elena Vasquez had invited them to witness what humanity built in the shadows. As Kane stared at the magnificent structure ahead, she realized they were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their secrecy. It was their ability to dream of tomorrow while patiently building it today. The architects emerged. The City of Stars, the Hegemony Task Force, approached the massive human construction with weapons powered but not targeted. Admiral Kane had ordered defensive readiness, but something about the structure's peaceful presence discouraged aggressive action. It resembled a flowering garden made of metal and crystal, its surfaces alive with gentle light patterns that seemed to welcome visitors rather than warn them away. Size estimates, Kane asked. 200 kilometers across. Admiral. Population readings suggest over 50,000 inhabitants. The power signature. Lieutenant Commander Reeves paused, checking his instruments twice. It could supply energy to an entire planet. Through the viewports, Kane could see smaller craft moving around the structure like insects tending a vast flower. Human ships, their designs unlike anything in the hegemony databases. They moved with purpose and grace, following flight patterns that suggested decades of practiced routine. Incoming transmission, the communications officer reported. Captain Vasquez is requesting permission to come aboard. Kane considered the request. Meeting face-to-face carried risks, but the humans had demonstrated capabilities that made traditional security concerns irrelevant. If they meant harm, no amount of caution would matter. Grant permission. Full diplomatic honors. The architect captain, Elena Vasquez, arrived aboard a shuttle that shouldn't have existed. Its hull incorporated the same impossible materials as the hidden structures, and it moved through space with efficiency that suggested revolutionary propulsion technology. When she stepped onto the Dominion's flight deck, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had spent decades building the impossible. She was smaller than Kane expected, with calloused hands and work-worn clothes that spoke of someone who built things personally rather than ordering others to do so. Her eyes held depths that suggested years of patient labor and careful planning. Admiral Kane, Vasquez said, extending a human greeting gesture. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I understand you have questions. They met in the Dominion's main conference room, with senior staff representing the hegemony's best military and scientific minds. Vasquez sat alone on her side of the table, seemingly unbothered by the odds. Captain, Kane began, our surveys have identified over 200 hidden structures across the galaxy, all of human origin, all incorporating technology far beyond what we believed your species possessed. Explain, Vasquez smiled. We've been building, Admiral. For 43 years, we've been quietly constructing infrastructure that will benefit all spacefaring species. Research stations, communication relays, emergency shelters, manufacturing facilities. Things the galaxy needs, but no one had time to build. Commander Thrix leaned forward. Our intelligence networks monitor all major technological developments. How did humanity advance so rapidly without detection? We didn't advance rapidly, Vasquez replied. We advanced quietly. While other species focused on expansion and conquest, we focused on understanding and building. We studied every technology we encountered, learned from every species we met, and slowly developed solutions to problems most civilizations ignore. The philosopher Kane struggled to process this information. You're claiming humanity has been conducting secret construction projects across the galaxy for decades. Why reveal yourselves now? Vasquez gestured to a holographic display that materialized above the table. It showed the galaxy from an unusual perspective, with hidden structures visible as points of light connected by flowing lines of data and energy. Because the work is ready, she said. For 40 years, we've been building the foundation for something greater. A network that can respond to galactic emergencies, support struggling colonies, and provide resources when disasters strike. It's not a weapon or a conquest tool. It's infrastructure. The hologram zoomed in on specific regions, showing how human structures formed support networks around major trade routes and vulnerable systems. Supply depots positioned to help ships in distress. Research stations studying phenomena that threaten space travel. Communication relays connecting remote colonies to galactic civilization. You built all this to help? Kane asked. Humans excel at patience, Admiral. We understand that the most important work often happens slowly, in quiet places, without recognition. While others fight wars and establish empires, we prefer to build bridges and prepare for tomorrow's challenges. Dr. Yeleth, the Dominion's chief science officer, spoke up. The technology required for these constructions exceeds our understanding. How did humanity develop such capabilities? Vasquez touched the display, bringing up technical schematics that made the assembled scientists gasp. We didn't develop it alone. We studied every species we encountered, learned from their strengths, and adapted their techniques to human methods. The crystalline matrices came from studying Xaverian mineral sciences. The organic hull materials evolved from Thrixian biotechnology. The power systems integrate principles from a dozen different civilizations. You stole our technologies, Thrix demanded. We learned from them, Vasquez corrected gently. Every species contributes knowledge to galactic civilization. We simply approached that knowledge differently. Instead of using it for conquest or profit, we used it to solve problems and build things that last. The demonstration, as if summoned by the conversation, alarms began sounding throughout the Dominion. Emergency signals flooded the communications channels as reports arrived from across the sector. Admiral, the communications officer called out urgently. We're receiving distress calls from the Kepler mining colony. They report a massive asteroid impact, life support failing, thousands of casualties. Kane felt her stomach tighten. Kepler. Colony housed over 100,000 beings from dozens of species. It was too far from hegemony response fleets to reach in time. Estimated response time, she asked. 14 hours for the nearest hegemony relief fleet, Reeves reported. The colony won't last 6 hours with their current life support damage. Vasquez stood quietly. Admiral, with your permission, we can help. How? Kepler is 8 hours away at maximum hyperspace velocity. Vasquez smiled. Not if you know the right routes. She touched her wrist communicator, speaking in rapid human standard. Within minutes, the Dominion's sensors detected massive energy signatures coming online throughout the sector. Human structures that had been invisible suddenly blazed with activity. What's happening? Kane demanded. We're opening the network, Vasquez explained. Every construction site, every hidden facility, every research station. They're all connected, Admiral. Not just by communication links, but by transportation corridors that don't appear on any star chart. The main display showed space itself seeming to fold and twist around human structures. Corridors of distorted space-time opened between installations, creating pathways that defied conventional understanding of physics. Hyperspace tunnels, Dr. Yelith whispered in amazement. But the energy requirements, the engineering precision. 40 years of patient work, Vasquez said simply. We've been building more than just space stations, Admiral. We've been building roads between the stars. The Rescue 3 human ships emerged from a spatial distortion near Kepler. Colony before the hegemony fleet could even plot a course. They were massive vessels, their hulls configured for emergency response rather than combat. Within hours, they had stabilized the colony's life support, begun evacuating the injured, and deployed construction teams to repair critical infrastructure. The Dominion arrived to find the crisis already under control. Human rescue workers moved through the damaged colony with equipment and expertise that seemed perfectly suited to the emergency. They worked alongside local crews, adapting their techniques to accommodate different species' needs and environmental requirements. How did they respond so quickly? Kane asked in amazement. Emergency Response Network, Vasquez explained. We've been preparing for disasters like this for decades. Every major population center in the galaxy has human emergency assets positioned within rapid response range. Not to control or conquer, but to help when help is needed. Kane watched human workers saving lives with technologies the hegemony didn't understand. Using methods developed in secret over decades of quiet preparation, everything about humanity's approach challenged her assumptions about civilization. The new understanding, the conference room aboard the Dominion, felt different when discussions resumed. The successful rescue operation had demonstrated human capabilities in ways that words couldn't convey. These weren't the primitive, recently spacefaring humans described in hegemony files. These were master builders who had spent decades preparing to help a galaxy that didn't know it needed help. Why remain hidden for so long? Kane asked. Why not reveal your capabilities and join galactic civilization openly? Vasquez considered the question carefully. Because some work requires solitude, Admiral, building infrastructure isn't glamorous. It doesn't generate headlines or win battles, but it's essential. We needed time to work without interference, without politics, without pressure to use our capabilities for purposes we couldn't support. And now the foundation is complete. The network is operational. We can help prevent disasters, support exploration, and provide resources when they're needed most. The work is ready to serve. Commander Thrix spoke up. The hegemony will need to reassess our entire understanding of human capabilities and intentions. We hope so, Vasquez agreed. We're not interested in joining the hegemony or any other government. We prefer to work independently, helping where help is needed, building what needs building. But we're ready to cooperate with any organization that shares our commitment to making the galaxy a safer, more connected place. The alliance of builders over the following days. Hegemony representatives toured human facilities that had been hidden for decades. They saw research stations developing medical technologies, manufacturing centers producing emergency supplies, and communication networks that could coordinate disaster response across vast distances. Everything was designed to help, to build, to prepare for challenges that might arise years or decades in the future. Humanity had spent 40 years thinking about tomorrow's problems and building solutions today. We underestimated you, Kane admitted during her final meeting with Vasquez. The hegemony classified humanity as a minor spacefaring species with limited capabilities. Most species make that mistake, Vasquez replied. We don't look impressive from the outside. We don't build massive fleets or establish territorial empires. We build quietly, carefully, with patience. It's not a glamorous approach, but it works. What happens now? Now we keep building, Admiral. There's always more work to do, more problems to solve, more infrastructure to create. The galaxy is a big place, and there's room for everyone to contribute something valuable. As the Hegemony Task Force prepared to depart, carrying news that would reshape galactic civilization's understanding of humanity, Kane reflected on everything she had learned. Humans weren't the primitive species described in intelligence files. They were master architects who had spent decades building a better future in silence and shadow. The galaxy would never look the same. In the quiet spaces between stars, humanity had been preparing to help with challenges no one else had anticipated. They had built networks of support, frameworks of cooperation, and foundations for a more connected future, and they had done it. All without fanfare, without recognition, without asking for anything in return except the freedom to keep building tomorrow's solutions today. The humans called themselves the Silent Builders, and now the galaxy understood why. Some of the most important work happens in quiet places, built by patient hands, growing stronger with every passing day. The Empire had laughed at human ships, dismissing them as primitive and inconsequential. But they had never seen the real human fleet, the one that moved through hidden corridors between the stars, carrying tools instead of weapons, building instead of conquering. Now they knew humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their secrecy. It was their understanding that the most important victories happen quietly, one careful construction at a time, building the future with patient, steady hands. Asterisk.